So I participated in the 2022 Championship Finals, also known as the Nationals for North America region, and I made it to top 32 cut and finished top 16 at the very end, playing my favorite deck and Digimon of all time, BlackWarGreymon X. Digimon fans, welcome back, and today we'll be showcasing the BlackWarGreymon X deck, which I brought to Nationals. The Nationals weekend was an absolute blast. It was incredibly fun, and honestly, I totally did not expect myself to make it that far. Now, I'm super happy to share with all of you. Some of you guys already know that I made top 6 out of over 1,000 players on day 1. And then I finished top 16 at the top 32 cut on day 2. Even right now, I'm still blown away by the fact, as it was one of my biggest achievements ever in any card game that I played. Therefore, I want to take a moment to give a huge shout out to all my friends who supported me all the way during the event, and of course also you guys who supported me through the channel. Shout outs to all my opponents that I faced, and it was an absolute pleasure playing against every single one of them. In today's video, I'll quickly go through my deck profile and talk about the key changes I made, and there's been quite a few differences compared to my very first BlackWarGreymon X video that I posted ever since the beginning of BT11. I actually already posted my full deck list earlier a few days ago in the Avault Club membership tab, and if you guys want to see more exclusive deck profiles, updates, and lists before everyone else, be sure to join the Avault Club right now by clicking on the join button or the link in the description box down below. Of course, there are going to be tons of exclusive participation prizes that we got even more from being top 16 goodies, and we'll go through those for the next video. So if you guys can't wait for that, then be sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell right now to stay tuned. Also, be sure to give this video a like while you're at it because I greatly appreciate the support, and let's get into the deck profile. Okay, so for the Digi-Egg cards, we got the 4 Koromons from BT9. This one is your turn while this Digimon has Agumon or Greymon in its name, gains extra 1000 DP. I used to run the BT5 drawing Koromon, but now I realize DP power is actually much more important for this deck, is because you need to make sure that you swing over things, that you don't get deleted by security battle as well, and it's going to be a lot of focus on heavy power on DP in this specific build, which really helped and worked out for me throughout the entire time of Nationals, which we'll talk about more as we go through all the other cards. So that's it for the eggs. Let's talk about our rookies. Of course, you still need the 4 copies of the promo Agumon that gives you extra 2000 DP during your turn. Still really strong. Like I mentioned, DP power is my priority currently, so that's what I decided to go for. Then for searching Agumon, I used to run 4 copies of this guy right here, but I decided to make room for a different Agumon later on we're going to talk about, but still really good card. Searching yourself for a Greymon and an Omnimon potentially is always going to be very nice. And then the 2 Agumons from BT8. This is where I decide to switch up the ratios, and by decreasing the BT5 Agumon and adding 1 extra BT8 Black Agumon right here. And the reason I decided to do this is because all your level 6s are going to be Dragon Kins. You're going to be effectively hitting your searches and getting the 2 hits way more frequent and often with this particular Agumon right now, and it's just going to be super helpful, really good for the deck, and it really helped me out find my pieces even faster. And I wouldn't go more than 2 or 3 of copies of this card because it does potentially break you up when you're trying to build your Digivolution stack sometimes, but 2 is really what I really like for sure. And then, of course, we still must have the 4 copies of the Agumon X Antibody, which lets you Digivolve for 0 on top of Agumon, cycle through more cards, draw, and search for even more, which is why it's really important for this deck. And yeah, that's it for the rookie lineup. Next, let's talk about our level 4s, where we have Greymons. Still the 4 copies of the BT8 Black Blocker Inheritable Greymon. Defense is really important. You want to be able to control the board state with the combos of this deck, essentially, so it really helps out. Definitely the priority for sure. Then we got 2 BT5 Greymons. And just so you guys know, I no longer play the starter deck Greymon with Security +1. That is very unusual of me because I generally like the Security +1 to do extra damage and go really aggressive. But once again, like I mentioned before, DP power is now super crucial. You need to make sure that your BlackWarGreymon and any of your level 6s survive in the security battle, because once you lose your stack, the momentum can just quickly swing back to your opponent and there's no comeback, and I do not want to risk that chance anymore. This deck is very control based anyways, and having that extra DP lets you play the pace of the game much more better than before, and you want to be slow and be patient so that you can burn your opponent's security, check them down slowly bit by bit, and then go for the big game winning plays later on. And yeah, really good Greymon for sure. Then of course we still have one of the best Greymons for this deck, which is the Greymon X Antibody, Digivolving for 0 on top of regular Greymon, and then you get to reduce your Greymon that you're into your level 5s by reducing those costs when Digivolving, also giving you the inheritable protection. Super powerful, super strong card. You definitely have to run 4 copies of this no matter what. That's it for level 4s. Level 5s, we got 4 copies of the BT8 Metal Greymon. De-Digivolving and popping stuff is still very, very good for controlling the board, especially in the early stages of the game. Also, it's inheritable, letting you to swing over unsuspended stuff. So this is the priority I decided to go for. 4 copies of this one is still a must. Then we have 3 copies of the Metal Greymon X from BT11. This one digivolves for 1 on top of Metal Greymon. Still really strong card because it gives you the protection of DP reduction and de-digivolving. Really great for the mirror match overall, and it definitely comes in handy. And popping something that's 6,000 DP or less, potentially if you do have a Metal Greymon or X Antibody underneath the sources. But also the inheritable of trashing your opponent's security with your reboot combos is just really, really good. I do want to stay to 4, but I realize there's just not enough room because you have to find one spot for this particular card right here, which is the Metal Greymon Ultras mode. Very flexible card because you can Digivolve on top of Metal Greymon for 0. Otherwise, you can treat it as a regular level 5 anyways. If you have a Tamer when Digivolving, pop one of your opponent's Digimon with 5,000 DP or less. But its main clutch effect is really it's inheritable. It provides you the exact same protection as Greymon X Antibody does, but without the X Antibody option to be underneath your sources instead. So if you do build a pretty big stack with 2 level 3s, 2 level 4s, 2 level 5s, and continue to so on, you can give yourself multi-protection during a turn, which does definitely come up against your opponents, and it definitely is a super clutch card and really, really good. So a one-off tech is definitely very, very nice. That's it for all of our level 5s. Now let's talk about our level 6s, which I'm going to show you all of them in one go right here, where we decided to do the 2-2-2 split. Now, originally, I played 3 BlackWarGreymon X Antibodies because I just really like his effect of redirecting, deleting stuff. Really, really powerful card for sure. But in such a big tournament such as Nationals, you have no idea what you're going to be facing against. And this is why I decided to go back to the 2-2-2 ratio right here. And it's going to be really important to help you combat against any surprising matchups or any matchups you potentially face to have a good fight against any of them. BlackWarGreymon, super good against cross-heart decks. You definitely want to see this as soon as possible to pop your opponent's Tamers, to control the board, to swing and suspend by deleting something, all turns, really, really good effect. BlackWarGreymon X, like I talked about earlier, still a really powerful, strong card. And Gaiomon back to 2 as well here, and simply because that you can de-digivolve, you can blitz, swing over stuff. If you ever want to play aggressive, this is your go-to card, and you can also swing over unsuspended with the combination of Metal Greymon, which is going to be really, really, really important. So that is it for the level 6s. You still want to stay to the 6 copies, but 2-2-2 is what I decided to go for. And then for the final Digimon card of the deck is I decided to play the Omnimon X Antibody from BT10. Now, a lot of you guys might be asking why, because wouldn't the BT5 Omnimon X Antibody be the much better choice because it can negate attacks, it can stop against Grandis. Like I mentioned in my previous video, this deck is very weak against Grandis, and Grandis has a really good matchup against this deck overall. But the reason why I decided to play this one instead now is because I know that this card has a lot more better matchup against all the other decks other than Grandis overall. This card itself has won me so many games in the Swiss rounds that it put in a lot of work, and I do not regret it at all. The only one single time I wished I didn't have the BT5 Omnimon X instead was against a Grandis matchup and could have changed the ties and changed the flow of the game, but that was all the way into the very end when I was playing at top 16 in the top 32 of day 2. And just so you guys know, I did not regret my choice for that whatsoever because of this card. It brought me all the way there to top 32. That's it for Digimon. Tamers, 2 Yuyas, Yuya is still really good. I always talked about that. I sometimes want to play 3 to see it a bit more often. Really good because you can shut down options, get extra DP and whatnot. But, otherwise 2 is pretty much the standard overall that people are playing. You don't want to see too many of it. So 2 has worked out very well for me overall in this build then. Of course, 3 cool boys. Great for searching. So much value this card. This card is incredibly powerful. We all know how strong this card really is. Gives you memory that you can draw more and do more combos and let you play and, dig through faster. Yeah, cool boy. Really good card. That's it for the tamers. Let's talk about the options. You definitely want 3 copies of the X Antibody. This is very crucial to your combo as well. Sliding it under so that you can do your protection, swing, and digivolve at the same time. Really, really powerful card. Really strong card for the deck. And yeah. That's it. And the other reason why you want to see that card as soon as possible as well is because of Hades Force. Hades Force is incredibly strong, incredibly powerful. Some of you guys might be wanting to play 3, but there's not enough space for me, so I can only really fit 2. It's just really good. Against Crossheart, you just blow up their board. Against many other decks, in Security as well, you get to stop your opponents. And I gotta say, this card is just really, really good for sure. It definitely saved me against some Grandis matchups when it did pop out from Security, so 100%. Definitely a really good card, at least a 2 of. And then to round it all off, the 2 red memory boost, great for searching, like an additional rookie, gives you the delay, and that basically wraps up for the deck profile here. Now that we got the deck profile complete, let's talk about all the matchups I faced for both days. I've also included the results in the description box down below so you guys can see for all the rounds. For the very first round, I was up against the yellow and purple security control. The very interesting factor that my opponent was also playing it along with Mother D Reaper and Gatekeeper only. Therefore, they had no other D Reaper related cards in their build. Game 1, I was able to swing aggressively, dodging most of the security bombs that they have. The BlackWarGreymon X with MetalGreymon X and MetalGreymon combo in the stack was very powerful, which lets me swing over their Digimon that are unsuspended and utilize the reboot and security trashing effects. Game 2, they were able to stall out the game against me, which caused me to deck out, and basically I lost. Game 3, playing Yuya as soon as I saw it, put the most work, because it provided me protection against all the options, which gave me a lot of advantages throughout the entire game. I ended up winning and finishing the round 2-1. For the second round, I faced against Crossheart. As most of us would know, BlackWarGreymon X hard counters Crossheart, especially with the BlackWarGreymon that deletes Tamers, and as well as Hades Force to clear their board. The Omnimon X Antibody from BT10 came in clutch as I was able to bottom deck their Shoutmon Cross 7, which actually trashes their sources and does not let them material save. Throughout the round, I was able to score 2-0 against my opponent. For round 3, I faced against another security control deck. This time my opponent played a Viximon yellow base with the usual purple combination of Chaos Degradation and Flame Health Scythe as well as the purple Tamers. I utilized BlackWarGreymon to actually take out their purple Tamers, which prevents them from playing their purple and yellow options. Once again, Yuya is a great help, and Omnimon X Antibody helped me a ton since I was able to look at their security and trash one card and even plan ahead for all my plays as well. The opponent also played the BT5 Sakuyamon, but I was able to easily swing over it with any of my level 6s that had the MetalGreymon inheritable, and then I was able to take the match 2-0. Round 4, I faced against Grandis. Grandis is one of the hardest matchups for BlackWarGreymon because it can easily swing over it with massive DP power and pierce into security for potential OTKs. My opponent had some very interesting spikes with the Kuwagamon from EX1 and a high Mega Blaster, which made the deck slightly more mid-range and a bit of control, but still maintaining the potential power of OTK. Game 1 was tough, as the opponent was able to build 2 big stacks and there was nothing I could do about it. I was able to make a comeback in Game 2 as the opponent seemed to have bricked and I capitalized on it, building a strong stack early and chipping out their security very quickly. Game 3, it came down to Hades Force that came out from my security, which was insanely lucky and clutch. It caused them to lose their entire stack and tempo of the game, which I was then able to win after finishing 2-1 for the match. Round 5, I played against another Grandis player, and this time they had the blue package that included Davis, Ice Wall, and Megadeths. Game 1, my opponent was able to find their pieces to build a strong stack, and they just basically OTK'd me. Game 2, they had to build a slightly suboptimal stack, which gave me the opportunity to answer back very quickly, and I was able to win the game against them after taking their suboptimal stack and establishing the momentum. Game 3, I noticed that they were not seeing their pieces, and it seemed like that they have bricked slightly. I also played a Hades Force early to take out their Mimi Memory Tamer, while they had no green memory boosts on the board either. And this allowed me to continue to choke them at 1 memory, turn after turn, so that they could not get into their top end combo. From there, I slowly took down their security and won the match 2-1. Round 6, I got the chance to play against Lychee, who is also known as one of the best players that specialize in black within the Digimon community, and it was really awesome meeting him in person as well. Lychee ran some special spice, bringing back the promo BlackWarGreymon from the Great Legend Dash Pack. By combining it with the starter deck Greymon that gives security +1 and Yuya, Lychee's intention was to sneak in some potential OTKs within his build, but still having the standard control aspects of the BlackWarGreymon X in his deck. Game 1, Lychee tried to pull off the OTK combo, but unfortunately he ran into a larger Digimon of mine in security, which was the main weakness of that particular combo. He also bricked after, which allowed me to establish a large amount of momentum, and I basically took Game 1. Game 2, there was more back and forth as we were trying to de-digivolve each other's stack and trying to swing over each other with Gaomon and the Metal Greymon combo too. It came down to a clutch point where Outsource mode gave me an extra layer of protection against his BlackWarGreymon X deletion effect, which allowed me to finish him off afterwards. One of the most memorable matches that I had throughout the day, and I also had a really great chat with each other afterwards, so shoutouts to you, Lychee, if you're watching. Round 7 was against another BlackWarGreymon deck, and that's actually no surprise as many of the top tables were playing this particular deck since it was that good. Once again, there was quite a bit of back and forth with us, both of us trying to control the board of each other, and I was able to see more backup pieces for me to build multiple stacks one after another, which also gave me flexibility to play a bit more aggressive and not get punished too hard afterwards too. Omnimon X Antibody has helped me secure one of the games and my opponent was not able to answer it at all. This allowed me to take the match 2-0. Round 8 was another BlackWarGreymon X mirror match. I was able to maintain better momentum throughout game 1 and had more control. I got even more advantages and hand size with many cards over time and outpaced the opponent. Game 2, I prioritized playing my red memory boosts as early as possible instead of my tamers because BlackWarGreymon can potentially delete them. Therefore, I saved the boost for later on to make a huge clapback at the right time. That allowed me to win the game 2-0 against the opponent. For the final round of day 1, I was lucky enough to be featured on the live stream match, and I was very sure that some of you guys watched it. Of course, I faced against one of the biggest arch enemies that I ever had, which is another Grandis player. This time I was not so lucky. My opponent was able to build their stack consistently and put pressure against me. I was playing slightly passive and probably should have went a little bit more aggressive into my full combo either way. Sadly, my opponent was able to win 2-0 against me in the end, and I was basically no match for them at all. By the end of the first day, I finished 6th place in the 9 rounds of Swiss, which allowed me to proceed into day 2 with the top 32 cut. The top 32 match procedures was actually very interesting because there's a lot of influence depending on how you finished from day 1. For example, first and foremost, the player with the higher ranking from day 1 can choose to whether go first or second for game 1 instead of rolling a die. But not only that, every player can also see their opponent's deck list before beginning the match. Since I was 6th place, it allowed me to choose and it gave me a lot of advantages throughout. So my first round opponent of day 2 was a Crossheart deck. As mentioned from before, BlackWarGreymon X has a very favorable matchup against that deck in particular, and in both games, I was able to take out all their important tamers that they saved their Digimon under, and even used Hades Force to clear off everything else. Because of that, I was able to score 2-0 very quickly against them. Second round was against Grandis. Once again, the most difficult matchup to play against. However, I did have the advantage of choosing whether to go first or second and get to see their deck list as well. And this allowed me to win game 1 since my opponent was not able to see their pieces. Sadly, game 2 and 3 did not go my way at all, and I kind of bricked slightly as well. In game 3, it came down to a very intense play where my opponent built an awkward stack, but I was able to answer it and take it out. But this was the one and only time I wished that I had the BT11 Omnimon X Antibody because it would have helped me to make a big comeback by stopping the attacks from his answer backs, and then I could have won the game. But even so, I still did not have any regrets because the BT10 Omnimon X has put in a ton of work throughout the entire time of day 1 and my first round against the Crossheart matchup too. Unfortunately, I lost 2-1 against my opponent where I was eliminated from the top cut. That will wrap up for the deck profile and all my matchups with everyone during the Nationals event. I honestly had a great time and was super privileged to be able to play at the top tables against many other amazing players. Once again, huge shoutouts to everyone and you guys who have supported me all the way through. If you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful, please give it a like. I'm going to be opening up the exclusive prizes in the next video, so be sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell right now to stay tuned. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you next video, and this is Avault, signing out.